I'm not TMZ and I'm not your school's local newspaper, but I do want to actually talk about a news story today that I'm sure you're all aware of by now. Alec Baldwin fatally shot cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of his new movie Rust. He also caught the director in the crossfire as well, who was shot and injured but is okay. Unfortunately, Hutchins died. It was a tragic accident where a prop gun Alec Baldwin was handling actually had a live round in it, which ultimately ended in someone's death. I first heard about this minutes after it happened. I was streaming at the time, and I swear to God, the people in my chat are like the fastest on-scene reporters to everything. If there was a nuclear missile launch somewhere in the world, I would probably know about it before the US government because my chat would fucking tell me. Somehow, they just have like the cutting-edge information the second it happens. It honestly felt like whoever was telling me about this in Twitch chat was actually on the set when it was happening. So I've been following this very closely over the last couple days, and this is more than just a tragic accident. This is gross negligence and a disturbing look into how little movies care about the safety of the crew. I'll get into that in a minute, but just in case you don't know what happened, Alec Baldwin is in an upcoming movie called Rust, and I don't know what the movie's about. I haven't looked that up because I think that's the least important part about this whole thing, but I guess in the movie he plays some kind of gun-wielding badass. He's playing fucking Doom guy, so he's running around akimbo guns and going crazy because guns are a big part of the movie, it seems. And in one of the shots they were doing, he was handling the gun and he shot and killed the cinematographer and injured the director. It was supposed to be a prop gun without live rounds, obviously. Sorry to hit you with a cold water and tell you Santa Claus isn't real, but movies are fake. Those guns you see in the movies aren't shooting real bullets or anything, at least they're not supposed to. But in this case, the gun Alec Baldwin was handling had a real round in it. Now, a lot of people immediately compared this to the tragic death of Bruce Lee's son on the set of The Crow. Brandon Lee died because of a malfunctioning prop weapon where a projectile actually did come out of what was supposed to be a blank and it killed him. A lot of people compared it to that, but this is totally different. This is so much worse. So I read this article today because this is still a developing story. Everyone's trying to figure out what the fuck happened here. Like the Tooth Fairy came in and delivered a real round into a prop gun. How did this happen, you know? And so the investigation's been launched, and apparently the entire filming of this movie was a fucking disaster. Crew members weren't allowed to stay nearby, so they had to drive 50 miles each day just to get to set. The conditions were abominable, which is obviously leading to them being miserable, so a lot of them wanting to quit and just wanting better conditions, and in response to that, they just started hiring non-union workers to replace the union workers. The fucking prisoners on Alcatraz Island were treated with more respect than the crew on Rust. It sounds like working on Rust would have been worse than working as a custodian in hell. At least maybe in hell the demons would have treated you better than the Rust team did. I would have rather been licking gas station toilet seats clean than go work on Rust. But not only were the conditions absolutely horrible and unacceptable to a damn near criminal degree, I would argue, but it was also like going to an active war zone every time you stepped on the set of the movie. Because this wasn't the only time there was an accidental discharge of the firearms on set. It happened 3 times, allegedly. Now, I don't know if it means that a live round was fired each time, or if it just means the gun wasn't fully cold. When they called cold gun, it was supposed to mean like there was nothing in there. So it could mean like the other 3 times it was like blank rounds that fired. But even still, that is a massive mistake to make. You call cold gun and a blank fires is still very dangerous. You have to be in control. You have to know what the fuck is in the guns. There were multiple discharges of firearms throughout filming. So it's like that scene in Zoolander where they're having like a fucking gasoline fight. Like, they didn't care. They were using like real guns, it seems. It wasn't even like props at that point. They just went to like the local, gun store, just purchased a lot and like, yeah, this will be fine for the movie. We'll just dodge the bullets or some shit. So I guess you just show up the set and every time there's a scene with a gun in it, you have to like be ducking for cover just in case. People just wandering around fucking dual-wielding pistols, firing them to the air like that guy from Looney Tunes, what's his name, Wiley Sharterton, the fucking guy with the beard, Yosemite Sam, just over there fucking blasting into the sky. So obviously the crew didn't feel safe, which led to half a dozen of them leaving just hours before the fatal shooting. Like, all of the signs were there for a disaster, but they were ignored because apparently they were trying to really rush the movie out, so they just didn't care. So I don't know how the fuck Like a firearm discharges one time and you're not like, holy shit, this is something we really need to, take a hold of, grab by the fucking nutsack and fix. Because that is just that's a recipe for disaster. That is asking for a tragedy, and that's exactly what happened. They were begging for it. Just read this again. Alec Baldwin's stunt double fired 2 rounds in a gun that they said was cold. That shit is not cold. That is clearly not cold. If that's cold, then my cock is 16 inches long. Like, it's unreal. They had so many chances to fix the problem. They had 3 discharges, according to that quote there. That means they had multiple opportunities to get things under control, and they just didn't. Dude just kicking back, smoking a pipe, saying, surely it won't happen a 4th time. Like that was their solution. Like, okay, now that we've got all the bad luck out of the way, now it's smooth sailing here. And then, of course, what happened, Alec Baldwin during his scene, he's supposed to unholster his weapon, and they said the gun was cold, as they did the last time, and it wasn't cold, as it wasn't last time. So he brought it out of his holster, and it fired a live round, which shot and killed Hutchins and injured the director behind her. A completely avoidable tragedy if anyone on set bothered to give a shit about safety. Now, of course, the crew cared about safety, clearly, because they were protesting and they left because they felt so unsafe. But I'm talking about, like, the higher-ups that were in charge of making these decisions and making sure things were safe. They clearly didn't give a fuck. They just kept rushing and cutting corners. And then their solution to everything was, okay, let them leave. We'll replace them and keep using these fucking actual guns. If you can dodge a bullet, we can dodge a lawsuit. So let's really get out there and do our best. I'm obviously not part of the Trust and Safety Board of the United States of America, but I think if, while filming a movie, 3 times your prop guns are called cold, even though they're shooting even blanks, I think you need to really take a moment to reevaluate your crew and get everything under control and maybe start to think like, so there's a problem here. Clearly, we're not all on the same page. This department's kind of lacking. Let's fix that. But hey, that's just me. I'm not a director or part of a film board. It's just so fucking sad. And what's even worse is the people on Twitter who are saying Alec Baldwin needs to go to prison for this. Why? It's not his fault. He was told the gun was cold and was just doing the scene as he was instructed. It's not like he went in there like the spirit of vengeance and took the gun and just started shooting people. He was told the gun was cold and he was filming a scene. And unfortunately, the production didn't do a good job of making sure there wasn't a real gun with real bullets on set. I don't even know why that would be there. Again, I'm not like in the film board or the film industry very much, apart from being the world's best actor, but I can't imagine why during any movie you'd need a real magazine of real bullets next to all of your blanks and empty guns. Why is that there? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It seems like something out of like a fucking hitman mission where you're trying to assassinate someone. Why the fuck would there be real bullets mixed in with all of the fake ones? And it blows my fucking mind. It's crazy. Such a sad and yet entirely avoidable tragedy. I just wanted to talk about it because this story has been truly wild. And I feel horrible for Alec Baldwin. I feel horrible, obviously, for the family of Hutchins and everyone on that crew. Because what a sad set of circumstances and an awful thing that happened. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to talk about this. That's about it. See ya. I'm becoming more and more convinced that TikTok is actually a weapon used to weed out stupid people. Because this story is not the first of its kind. This is not an isolated incident where a TikTok trend or challenge leads to a lot of fatalities. It's honestly getting to the point where these headlines feel like they're AI generated. Like the one we're talking about today feels like a fake story put into Grand Theft Auto as a joke. Just something they slid in there as something silly. But it's apparently legitimate. There's a TikTok trend called the boat jumping challenge, which is responsible for at least 4 people's deaths recently. And the challenge, as the name would imply, is jumping off of a boat going extremely fast. You don't need a master's degree in physics to figure out why this is dangerous, but just in case, I'll lay down the brass tacks. So I'm gonna sit you down in the classroom here for the lecture, so spit out your gum. Since the boat is moving so fast, when you jump off of it, you hit the water hard as shit. you generate a lot of force behind that impact. It's a goddamn wallop. So, what's happening is, when people are jumping off of the boats, they're hitting the water and then snapping their necks and drowning. It's an easily preventable and probably the most embarrassing death imaginable because you killed yourself for a goofy-ass TikTok challenge. And I also hate that everything in the world is called a challenge these days. That word has lost all meaning. There's nothing challenging about this. Jumping off a boat doesn't have any level of difficulty or skill to it. The only challenge, I guess, is surviving it. Like, avoiding being banished to the fucking Shadow Realm for it. But I'm so fucking tired of everything getting called a challenge, you know? Here's the poop without wiping challenge. You take a shit and you don't use any toilet paper or a bidet to clean your anus. Expert difficulty, ultra nightmare mode, impossible challenge. You won't last 5 seconds. It's so dumb. I'm so tired of everything getting labeled a challenge. But anyway, this trend of boat jumping is responsible for at least 4 deaths. And like I mentioned, that is just the saddest way of going out. Not only is it like an agonizingly slow, painful death, but that is just, you're probably getting made fun of in the afterlife for that. Dying for a stupid TikTok trend, you know the angels are shooting spitballs at you. Like, that is, like, it's just a shameful way of exiting this corporeal realm and shedding the mortal coil. That is so fucking sad. Like, I feel horrible that, you know, people have, you know, perished from it. But I honestly am stunned by just how quickly the human brain is devolving. This is like human instincts 101 shit. Like, this is common sense. This is an instinct you're born with. Not to, like, jump off of something going fast because it'll create bad ouchie boo-boo moment. Fucking cavemen probably would know not to jump off of, like, a speeding vehicle like this. I just don't understand how anyone would see this challenge and think that it was somehow safe or wasn't dangerous. Like, you'd have to know. You would have to know. And another thing is, it's so traumatizing, like, dying this way, not only because it was extremely avoidable, but because it's most likely done in front of your family and friends. Like, if you're on a boat, you're probably not on a boat with strangers. That's not exactly like you can call up an Uber to do this with. You can't just call up, like, a boat service, right, to pick you up and do this TikTok trend. So you had friends and family around you filming you, and then you did the TikTok suicide challenge right in front of them, and they watched you die and fucking filmed it. That is scarring. That is incomprehensibly nightmarish. So, like, this whole thing is, it's shocking that anyone would actually even do this. Like, 4 deaths from it is surprisingly low, actually. I imagine that's only the reported ones so far, assuming this is a popular trend. And I decided to look it up myself on TikTok to see how big the trend was. And it seems like it was pretty big, and there are still quite a few surviving videos of people doing the challenge, but all of them seem to at least had the foresight to recognize that, you know, pushing that bitch wide open on the boat going like 60 would have been a complete disaster and led to a Mortal Kombat fatality. So the ones that are on there right now are slow boats. They're going slow, so that way they don't hurt themselves doing it or, like, get seriously injured from it. Whereas most people, I guess, didn't recognize that and amplified the danger, fucking Evel Knievel, and actually just warp-drived their boat and jumped off, which led to these 4 deaths in Alabama. This whole situation proves to me, with my fucking tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, that there has to be some kind of shadow organization, the puppet masters pulling the strings of TikTok, that are in this think tank coming up with the most dangerous trends and challenges, knowing that stupid people will die doing it as a way of, like, population control or something. Like, not only is TikTok legitimately rotting the brains of so many people, but they're not satisfied with that. They're gluttonous for more punishment of the human species. So they're coming up with challenges like this, knowing that people will die doing it. Because like I said, this is far from the only one. There's also, of course, like the blackout challenge, which was literally suffocating yourself, and some people died doing that. Which, obviously, but that was the whole fucking challenge, basically. You just strangle yourself until you're about to pass out, and some people died from it. But point is, there's so many of these challenges now. This is just the most recent one. And what's even crazier is I think back to the Tide Pod challenge, how everyone all at once recognized the stupidity and the danger of it, and yet that didn't have nearly as many deaths or injuries as any TikTok trend that comes out. Like, every big TikTok trend has, like, at least a handful of deaths associated with it at this point. And even extending further beyond Tide Pod Challenge, many people forget this one, but it's one I look back on with a big fucking smile on my face that someone even tried it. There was something called the Hot Coil Challenge, which was only ever done by one person. It was a dude who just turned his fucking stovetop on and then put his bare forearm on it and let it incinerate his flesh. So he just slams his arm onto the stovetop and lets that motherfucker simmer. He is in there just letting it cook. So he holds it there for a little bit, obviously just melting the flesh off, fucking cremating his forearm, and called it the Hot Coil Challenge. And that would have been less detrimental to human health than fucking TikTok trends like the boat jumping challenge. There would have been less deaths in the Hot Coil Challenge than there are in things like the boat jumping challenge and blackout challenge and all of that. That's so crazy. Now, this isn't exactly related to the boat jumping challenge, but I want to illustrate just how dangerous water speed is. There is a record for the fastest water speed ever achieved, and it was set back in the 70s. And you'd think upon hearing that, like, oh, we've advanced well beyond that with technology. How have we not been able to beat a record from the 70s when it comes to water speed? And that's because it's considered the most hazardous thing to ever engage in. It's the most dangerous record to ever try and break. There's a whole Wikipedia page dedicated to it. Of the last 13 attempts to break the water speed world record, there have been 7 deaths. And the 2 most recent attempts both ended in catastrophe and death. It is a record that most people don't really want to challenge because it is so fucking dangerous. I feel like a lot of people just don't recognize how dangerous water can be, which is a silly thing to say, because I feel like most people should be able to, but we're living in clown times right now where people are just, they're not thinking anymore. They see internet engagement and all rational thought goes right out the window. So it's fucking dangerous. Obviously, this boat jumping challenge was going to lead to serious injury and death. And yet, people were blinded in the pursuit of clout. A story as old as time now. Well, not really. A story as old as 3 or 4 years now with how desperate people are for clout, that they are actually killing themselves for it. So yeah, just kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's about it. See ya. Going to a gender reveal party is like taking your family to Chernobyl. Everyone's at risk of dying. Gender reveal parties these days is basically just acts of terrorism to reveal the gender of your upcoming baby, whether it's starting legendary wildfires in California or just straight up killing your relatives with pipe bombs. It's just absolute chaos. I've been very outspoken against gender reveal parties. I'm like mothers against drunk driving, but for gender reveal parties. Fucking gamers against gender reveal parties. I feel like people should know by now that they're not that special. Your family, your friends, and especially the internet doesn't give that much of a fuck about the gender of your upcoming baby. So just give them the news plainly so they can pretend to be excited and happy for you like everybody else. And if you want to get real wacky, goofy, and silly, bake a cake, pink or blue if you want to. I mean, that's simple and it's harmless. Except with gender reveal parties, I guarantee they'd use like fucking rat poisoning for the food dye and end up killing their whole family revealing the gender with a cake. You can't trust someone that wants to reveal the gender of their baby in a grand, dangerous way, because they're psychopaths. In fact, I even looked this up. You are twice as likely to die at a gender reveal party than you are swimming in shark-infested water. There have been 2 shark attack deaths in 2021, whereas there's been 4 gender reveal deaths in 2021. This is becoming a big statistic. Like, you know, you used to read that shit about a vending machine falling on someone and killing them, and it turns out, like, well, this happens quite a bit, like, 15, 20 deaths a year. Gender reveals are about to make that look like child's play. People are fucking dropping like flies at these parties. And the fucking worst part about it is, the deaths are always like this Looney Tunes fucking Wile E. Coyote kind of thing. Like, one of them this year was a family shot a fucking cannon at their friend and killed them. Like, it's terrible stuff. The reason I'm talking about it is because yesterday there were 2 more deaths at a gender reveal party with a plane crashing. A family hired a plane and a crew to fly around doing an aerial acrobatics show while dropping colored smoke in a banner to reveal the baby's gender to the family that was watching from a boat. And while doing these stunts, they nosedived into the ocean, and the one person on board died on impact, and then someone else died after they were picked up by the rescue team and given first aid. I'll show a clip of them flying around. I'm obviously not going to show the crash, but you can see just how fucking dangerous this shit is.
El niño. Rosa.
It's absolutely horrifying and extremely sad with such an easy to avoid circumstance. Just don't do this kind of crazy dangerous shit to reveal the gender of your baby. It's so fucking trivial. People don't care. Your friends that go wild pumping their fist, whoa, good work, you fucked your wife and now you got a girl on the way, woohoo! They're just putting on an act to make you feel better. They don't care. They're not gonna go home and talk about it for the next week like, man, I can't believe they're having a girl. This is fucking incredible. And the way they revealed it with the magician making the Statue of Liberty disappear and then reappear covered in pink dust, man, I'm gonna be thinking about that for months now. People don't give a fuck. It's this narcissistic attitude, like wanting to be this center of attention, like, look at this, we're having a boy. So we're gonna burn down all of California to celebrate, which is what happened last year. Well, fucking one of the largest wildfires in history was started because of a gender reveal gone wrong. Like, the amount of death and destruction these fucking stupid parties hold is wild. Woo! Our baby's gonna have a penis, he's gonna have a fucking dick! To celebrate, I'm gonna fire this fully loaded cannon at Great Aunt Mildred. Brace for impact. Like, to be honest, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the fucking meteor that took out the dinosaurs was actually just an alien revealing the gender of their baby and using Earth as a way of doing that. Like, it's crazy. Like, they keep ramping up in danger. Like, pretty soon, gender reveal parties are just gonna be families open firing on each other using pink or blue guns. It's fucking weird, it's stupid, and it's so easily preventable. You don't have to kill your friends and family revealing your baby's gender. You can just bake a cake if you want to get real wacky. Like, it's that simple. It's gonna have the same effect. And I can promise you the internet doesn't fucking care how big your gender reveal party is. No one gives a fuck. Like, a lot of them do it for internet points because for some reason some people cheer them on just trying to make them feel better, but don't. You're encouraging awful behavior. It's so fucking sad. It's so dumb. So just a little friendly advice to anyone considering throwing a party for the reveal of their baby's gender. Maybe just use pink or blue lollipops. Be like, surprise! The lollipops are blue, it's a boy, and then people clap, and then, you know, no one dies. Unless, of course, you've dipped those lollipops in the fucking cyanide or something, but you probably wouldn't do that. Like, there's just play it safe, you know? Or just don't bother at all, because again, people don't give that much of a fuck about it. So yeah, that's about it. See ya. This is another one of those sad situations where I have to admit Twitch chat was right, and I look like a bumbling imbecile now. About a month ago, chat was trying to convince me that there was a viral TikTok challenge that was getting people to steal cars and sometimes crash them for views, and I wrote that off as a bunch of baloney. I said, I doubt that's an actual trend, probably just one stupid asshole did it, called it a challenge, and no one ever followed. But it turns out I was wrong. Not only is this boogeyman real, but it actually has led to the death of 4 teenagers this week. Somehow, the challenges continue to get more and more brain dead and dangerous. This generation of Tide Pod eating and hurting yourself for views on TikTok is reaching an absolutely absurd level of wildness. So, it's called the Kia Challenge. It's also not really a challenge, it's more of just a ruin your life speedrun tutorial. Basically, the only goal to be completed with the Kia Challenge is to steal a car and post yourself stealing the car on TikTok. It honestly sounds like it's something made by the CIA to catch potential car thieves. You're fucking instructing them to post evidence of their crime online, making it the easiest slam dunk arrest ever. But anyway, the Kia Challenge was videos that were teaching others how to steal Kias and Hyundais specifically because of a massive vulnerability in many models from Kia and Hyundai. For Kia vehicles, many of them built from 2011 to 2021 have this problem, and for Hyundais, those built from 2015 to 2021 also have this problem. I'm not here to teach you how to do it, I'm not your Thieves Guild sensei, but I will tell you, it is shockingly fucking easy. It's mind-blowing how stupid and simple it is. These cars are more insecure than me going through puberty. They basically steal themselves, honestly. It takes seconds, like actual seconds. Not even like mini seconds, like maybe 2 or 3 tops. It's fucking baffling, honestly. So, since this challenge went viral, there's been this massive increase in thefts with Kia and Hyundais, and this week it led to 4 teenagers dying. In a few of the Kia challenge videos that are still available online, the people in them are driving recklessly, and in a couple of them even crash. However, this one happened to be a fatal single-car accident, killing 4 of the passengers here, and now the driver's facing a felony charge. Pretty sad story all around, and it all stems from a little TikTok trend. Just when you thought we'd seen the dumbest trends from that platform with like devious licks and shit like that, they've gone even harder now. But I think it's very important we discuss what a massive fuck up this is from Kia and Hyundai. How in the world, 2,000 years after the death of Jesus, with all the technology we have now, how can you have this massive vulnerability? It's obviously a massive problem here, so much so that they have now been served a class action lawsuit as of late September, because these vehicles that they manufactured during the time periods I listed don't have immobilizers on them, which, as I understand, is standard among pretty much all the other automobiles out there. I'm not much of a car guy. I don't know too much about that shit. I know more about the anatomy of a fucking alien than I would a car's engine and what goes into vehicles. But according to the lawsuit, the engine immobilizers are crucial, and they've come at Kia and Hyundai for not having them, stating that they valued profits over safety and security of their customers. And it also outlines just how big of a problem it's become. It is just an absolute epidemic with all of these car thefts with the Kia and Hyundai models here, and it all ties back to the lack of engine immobilizer, as I understand it. And it seems like this was a massive blunder here, because all the extra doubloons they were able to squeeze out of their profit margins is all about to whittle away here and probably end in some net loss with this class action lawsuit. It's a huge deal, obviously. And just a really sad trend all around, since it ended in the death of 4 teenagers who probably wouldn't have stolen this car if they weren't fed the information on how to do it, as well as also fed the idea that by doing it, they'd gain TikTok clout. I believe at the time, and according to this article, the Kia Challenge category on TikTok, like the trend where all of these things lived, had 5.9 billion views across all of the videos there. Now, of course, not all of them were views on videos of people actually stealing the cars. A lot of them were people talking about how dangerous the challenge is. But there was, of course, quite a few videos actually showcasing just the blatant theft of Kias and Hyundais in there, in the Kia Boys area. And just fucking awful stuff. TikTok cracked down on it and banned those accounts and shut all of the Kia Boys, Kia Challenge stuff down, but even still, you can still find quite a few of them, and it clearly does still exist in some capacity because this only happened this week. So it's still a rather popular idea, even if not like a direct trend on TikTok anymore. So just wanted to talk about this a little bit, since this was just a situation where I was just absolutely wrong when Twitch chat was bringing me some new information here that I just refused to believe. It was so outlandish, I didn't believe it. I didn't think anyone would ever actually start a trend of just crime, and I was proven wrong. And it's very sad. Not sad about me being proven wrong, just the actual subject matter here being sad. That's about it. See ya. I've said for years now, one of the most evil companies on the planet is Disney. I imagine the board of directors is a who's who of supervillains. You probably got Mickey Mouse right next to Lucifer in that seat. It is always shocking to see just how low they'll stoop for the sake of a couple extra doubloons. They're like a real-world Umbrella Corp, but instead of manufacturing the T virus that turns people into zombies, they manufacture the D virus that turns people into Disney Defenders, where they'll always fight their PR battles for them and constantly empty their piggy bank for anything Disney slaps its fucking logo on. It's sickening, even when they are completely in the wrong. I've been following a story for the last couple days, and I imagine some of you have as well. It's a very sad story about a woman who had an allergic reaction and died after eating at a Disney Springs restaurant. And the holly jolly old assholes at Disney are arguing that because the husband signed up for a Disney Plus trial in 2019, he agreed to terms that would basically turn this lawsuit into toilet paper. To any sensible human being on the planet with a functioning frontal lobe, you're probably asking yourself, how does a Disney Plus trial at all have any grounds for this lawsuit when the allergic reaction happened at one of Disney's parks? It's not like his wife had an allergic reaction to the dog shit Disney Plus is feeding them. She passed away because of a complete failure from the restaurant. It is entirely their fault. So the couple chose to eat at a restaurant called Raglan Road Irish Pub, and they told the waiter that she had severe allergies to dairy and nuts, and she was unequivocally assured the food would be allergen-free, and they chose this restaurant because it is apparently very accommodating to people with allergies. So when the order arrived, there was no allergen-free flags, so they inquired again if it was allergen-free, and were once again assured that they were safe for her to consume. 45 minutes later, she had an allergic reaction. Even after administering an EpiPen, she had difficulty breathing, collapsed, and later passed away. And the husband is rightfully trying to sue Disney for this because it is a colossal fuck up here. And Disney's just dancing on her grave. They're just spitting on her memory by trying to toss out the wrongful death lawsuit, by trying to say that the husband signed up for a Disney Plus account in 2019, which has language that prevents them from being sued in this manner. It'd have to be through arbitration, meaning it's overseen by a neutral third party and not a judge. And also, he had apparently agreed to similar terms when purchasing a park ticket online in September 2023. So this opened up a massive can of worms here about all of the sneaky, scummy shit companies sneak into their terms when you sign up for services or if you purchase things online. You know that shit that every human being on the planet skips through with agreeing to terms and conditions? Yeah, it turns out sometimes there's some really awful shit in there. I wanted to wait before talking about this because I've been talking to a lawyer about it because I was very curious if there is any legs at all for Disney to stand on here. But I just couldn't wait because I've already seen a couple of conversations about why it's entirely this couple's fault for gambling with their food allergies. The state of the world is so fucking saddening. How is it a gamble? So she was allergic to dairy and nuts, and this was made abundantly clear to the staff of a restaurant that is well known for being accommodating to allergies. Apparently this restaurant has a commitment to being very conscious of allergens. So they chose this restaurant for that reason and made it very clear multiple times that dairy and nuts were a problem. And they were assured multiple times that the food they had ordered was not going to pose any problems for that allergy. They did everything they could. That's not gambling, you absolute Cro-Magnon that are arguing that it's actually their fault, Disney's blameless. This is what I'm talking about with the D virus. People falling over themselves to try and take bullets for Disney. It is a fuck up from the restaurant and by extension, Disney. I know they have more money than God, but even still, this is such an outrageous claim to be making because signing up for a Disney Plus trial should have no effect on what happens at a Disney park. That's not related at all. It shouldn't extend to that. Just imagine if that was normal. Let's say you're on a Boeing flight and all the screws on the flight all of a sudden just spontaneously pop off like a water balloon exploding, and all of a sudden your plane just disassembles itself in the air and you die. Everyone dies on board because the Boeing flight malfunctions, as Boeing flights are known to do these days. Well, what if Boeing said, that's a real shame about that, but, we can't be held liable for this because every single one of them, when purchasing their tickets online, agreed that no matter what happens, it's going to have to go to arbitration, so sorry about that, but really condolences. I am super confident that wouldn't work. You can't just have this blanket statement of, whatever happens, not our fault, and you agreed to it, see, you said right here, doesn't matter, you're fucked. Like, that can't work. And from what I've heard from a couple of lawyers that have talked about it online, as well as a couple conversations I've had, this doesn't really protect Disney, but this has become so common in contracts as a way of trying to weasel big corporations out of liability. But it's still scary because it does give them some leverage to fight on. It gives them an angle, and with the amount of money they can pour into defending themselves, it's going to make it very hard for normal people to fight back, even when Disney is 100% responsible for the tragedy that occurred. But at least Disney's very apologetic here. We're deeply saddened by the family's loss and understand their grief. Given that this restaurant is neither owned nor operated by Disney, we are merely defending ourselves against the plaintiff's attorney's attempt to include us in their lawsuit against the restaurant. They're fundamentally going, oh, we don't know those guys. They just use our land. We're kind of just like a landlord. We are not associated with those scoundrels over there at all. No, not us. Nope. You're coming after the wrong guy, bub. Go after them. Not our fault. And if you do want to go after us, you can't really because your Disney Plus free trial from 2019. Did you forget about that? Eek, sorry. Now, the lawyer representing the family called it absurd and preposterous, saying that the case is based on the incredible argument that any person who signs up for an account, even free trials that are not extended beyond the trial period, will have forever waived the right to a jury trial, which is pure insanity. And they also argue that Mr. Piccolo, the husband, agreed to the terms of use for himself. But he's now acting on behalf of his late wife, who never agreed to the terms, which I think is a really strong point. I think the lawyer is right here. His wife never signed up for the Disney Plus trial, thus she shouldn't be subjected to the fucking shackle and chains that apparently every Disney Plus subscriber is now succumbed to. The lawyer then goes on to say, the notion that terms agreed to by a consumer when creating a Disney Plus free trial account would forever bar that consumer's right to a jury trial in any dispute with any Disney affiliate or subsidiary is so outrageously unreasonable and unfair as to shock the judicial conscience. It really is exceptionally evil, and from what I've read here, it's not exclusive to Disney. So apparently there was even a time where they were going to get close to protecting consumers from this kind of shit with like these arbitration clauses that get snuck into contracts that you sign up for unknowingly, because it is unreasonable to expect anyone to read all 65 pages of every terms and condition for every service you sign up for. There's no human being on the planet that has the chutzpah to sit through and read all of that. But apparently that ruling that was going to protect consumers got fucked in Congress. So it's just, corporations really do operate on a different level than everything and everyone else. So no matter how much they are pushed to stop this shady shit, they can always pay their way out of it so it never actually sees the light of day and they can continue to do the scummiest things. Another quote here is, most of the companies in the U.S. require mandatory arbitration and allows them to, by and large, cut off much relief. Companies love it, but individuals who are harmed by these corporations really don't have any access to any form that would give them relief, as that's a real problem. It just limits consumers' options. It protects companies by fucking consumers in the face. The Supreme Court's view is, if you don't like it, don't sign it. Which is a super easy position to have for all the troglodytes in Supreme Court, because they're so ancient and archaic that these geriatric fossils don't sign up for anything or any service because they don't even know what a goddamn computer is. They're still learning about that mystical, magical thing called the cyberspace and the internet. So they don't even know what the fuck this is. All they need to know is what the corporations tell them they need to know. But every normal person in the world all has different services that they have to sign up for. I'm not talking about just like entertainment services. Like, no one needs to have like a Netflix account or anything, or Epic Games account or something. But even just like, I remember 10 years ago when I was in my apartment, there was an online sign up I had to do that had pages upon pages upon pages of terms and conditions. And I didn't read through all of them. I feel like most people don't read through all of them. Banking online, all types of services that are literally required for most normal people all have tons and tons of terms and conditions, and they are probably sneaking in some truly heinous shit. And this story right here helps shine a light on some of it and how unreasonable it is. And the Supreme Court saying, if you don't like it, don't sign up for it, is just, that's not realistic. It's just not at all. But yeah, anyway, this shit is super horrible. Disney super sucks. That's about it. See ya. I know this gets said all the time, but it's true. And it's sad. People will believe in anything. Today I just learned about slapping therapy, which I'd never heard of before. And you would think me, of all people, someone who has covered slapping tournaments for years, would have heard about slapping therapy, but even I couldn't imagine something so stupid. And today, a practitioner is being jailed for 10 years due to the death of a 71-year-old woman at one of his slapping therapy workshops, and it turns out he's also responsible for the death of a 6-year-old boy at one of those slapping therapy workshops. Now, when I first read the headline, I thought he was going in there and just like KOing people with slaps and trying to convince them that it was a good thing. He was healing them through like, you know, slapping the soul out of their body temporarily, like in Doctor Strange when she like fucking palms his whole spirit out. Like, I really thought these workshops were basically just like a fucking fight club where he was throwing frying pans at people's faces with these big meaty slaps and saying like, all right, all of a sudden your cold is healed. But that's not the case. It's actually far more ridiculous than that.
Catching cold. Once you catch cold, you may have different symptoms. If you're weak, you got a runny nose, easily find a big bone sticking out here. So you can just, whole area, just do the slapping here. Either with this hands or with this hands. Or on both sides, also with this. Or you can do this way.
That's the entire healing method. If anything's going wrong, start slapping yourself. I'm not shitting you. That's actual baby brain stuff like, ooh, I got a tummy ache. Let me slap the tummy ache away. Oh, geez. That's the entire method. It's called Allergy, I think is how you say it. And this is like their preeminent expert in it who now has 2 corpses under his belt from it. Now, if you're wondering how this killed people, it's because the 71-year-old woman had attended one of his workshops, and she was a type 1 diabetic, and for years she wanted to find an alternative way of healing herself without needles. Then she eventually met Turbo Goober Zhao and attended one of his slapping workshops where she called him a messenger sent by God, starting a revolution to put the power back in the hands of the people to cure themselves and to change the whole system of healthcare. It is frightening how people could get that impression through someone just slapping themselves and claiming that it'll cure your diseases and make you healthy. But just like V-Bucks on Christmas Day, she bought it. She was fully on board, hook, line, and sinker to the self-healing slap technique, the forbidden jutsu, and she stopped taking her insulin, instead just slapping it away, and Zhao said, well done, congratulating her on it. And eventually she started vomiting, got tired and weak, and then was howling in pain, unable to respond, and passed away. The 6-year-old boy passed away in similar fashion, where his parents stopped giving him insulin after they attended his workshops, because his workshops claimed that they would slap away the poisonous waste, which is the same nomenclature, the same verbiage you hear from all of these con artists that promote this absolute ridiculous dog shit that doesn't work. And now he's killed 2 people as a result of it. This one I think is one of the more baffling alternative healing methods that people buy into because you can immediately see it doesn't work. Because he's saying that it basically does everything. This is like a fucking fairy godparent that Timmy Turner would have that would make all of your wishes come true as long as you can slap yourself for it.
I would guess 80% of the problems or the symptoms would be gone after doing those. If that is still not enough, you can do the whole chest here, like this. You can do it by yourself here. Here, see. This side, see here, here. Then the whole area right in the middle. If you have someone around you, you can ask them with both hands here, and also at the back. After doing what we call carpet bombing, all these areas.
This asshole watched Patrick Star ham bone in an episode of SpongeBob, and then said, I can make an entire business out of that. So now his whole thing is that you can cure anything through slapping yourself. So he calls it carpet bombing on your chest when you're slapping a cold away like this. But what's crazy is, anyone who would watch this and maybe think for even a fucking millisecond that this might work would try this when they had a cold and learn that it doesn't work. You can't fucking slap away a cold. But that's not enough proof for them. Even though it doesn't work, they still believe in it. He actually made a video addressing the death of that 6-year-old where he doesn't actually say anything. He doesn't actually address anything. He just keeps saying, it's an accident over and over. And the comment section is nothing but swallowing his meat.
Now more about the accident happened in Australia for that little boy. What I want to say is, first of all, this is an accident. When I say this is an accident, that means this has nothing to do with the workshop. It is purely an accident.
It actually has everything to do with the workshop because he encourages everyone to just slap everything away to get that poisonous waste out of their body, all that toxic sludge that's infesting their body through some of this, some of that. And then the parents who got brainwashed into believing it took their child off insulin as a result of these workshops. Now, of course, the parents of the boy are brain-dead idiots that should never see the light of day outside of a jail cell again. They are too stupid to be reintegrated into society. But that stupidity was manipulated by this scam artist, and it led to the death of that 6-year-old. Now, the comment section here is people supporting him. And I do mean every single comment is just down here practicing their own brand of slap healing by slapping his meat into their mouth. So they're just talking about how this isn't going to stop them from spreading the gospel of Paida Lejeune and changing the world one slap at a time. This guy saying this is not in any way your fault. You're actually trying to help heal people. How? By slapping them and putting them into an early grave when they inevitably get too brainwashed and take themselves off life-saving medication like insulin. Like, it's crazy to me that even when someone dies from this, and even when every single person in this comment section can confirm it doesn't work, they still latch onto it, this fucking fantasy that this is somehow the secret that's healing everyone, and they're going to be an immortal being because they slap their chest 5 times a day. Now, I do understand why people seek out alternative healing methods, because medications and normal doctor visits are unbelievably expensive. And everyone knows how corrupt the big pharma is. Everyone knows that. I get it. So I'm not confused as to why people will look for other means of helping themselves and maybe fixing whatever ailments they might suffer from. But what I don't understand is why people will choose the most blatantly fraudulent practices to believe in. There are other healing methods that do actually have some benefits, but a lot of them are trash that you can just research yourself and confirm yourself don't work. But people will still just, for some reason, become this lifelong believer in it based on nothing. I don't know how someone could sit there and watch this dumb asshole slap a guy's arm and say that it's healing him.
In 1 minute, ask me to stop, okay? One minute. Look, see? Just in 1 minute. It's like more than double the color. Let's show to the doctors, the professionals.
Wow! Just like Jesus turning water into wine, Zhao just turned skin into bruised a little bit. He basically claims that Paida Lejeune can solve everything. And I mean everything, even baldness.
Want to circulate the energy inside.
But this way is okay, is it?
Yeah, this is okay.
Not so fast. Slower and the
slower, better.
Let the energy penetrate inside.
Okay, that's how I do.
Man's actually teaching the Homer Simpson dough as a real method of curing your baldness. Brother, you're still bald. You should immediately be able to sniff out that this shit is not working. How? He can look in the mirror and recognize that his slapping head baldness therapy isn't working, yet still believes in it. I know it's overused with people saying this, but it is the truth. People will believe anything. Absolutely anything. Even something as comical as slapping therapy. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. He has so many videos and so many workshops and so many seminars where it's the same thing every time. Like there was one I saw for leg pain where he was saying, well, just slap the leg. That'll free it up. Just slap it a lot. It's everything. He's actually teaching people to fucking do like a knee slap when you hear a good joke, and it's gonna fix your fucking, sore muscles. Or, well, not sore muscles. What was it? I think he was looking to cure some kind of like, chronic pain. I can't remember now. But the point is, even something as over-the-top absurd as this has people believing in it and worshiping Zhao. It's actually fucking crazy. Just sitting there playing people's head like drums, and they're like, oh yeah, he's curing him. He just fucking cured him. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Extraordinary work. In fact, actually clapping is a form of slapping. So every time you clap, you're actually cleansing your body of toxins. Did you know that? I bet you didn't know that. I just figured that one out through Zhao's teachings, actually. And the most pathetic part is no one will ever be able to get through to people that have already bought into it in this way that it is fake, that it is bogus. Even the death of the 71-year-old woman and the 6-year-old boy is not enough. That will only strengthen the believer's resolve in it, saying things like, oh, they must have done something wrong with the Paida Lejin teaching. Zhao would never have misled us. He's healing all of us. He's a messenger sent by God. And the fact that they're jailing him now for this only proves to us that his teachings are a threat to the established medical order. So it must be true. His slapping techniques must be true if they just threw him in jail for it. There is nothing you can do to get people out of this. It sucks, man. Like, it's actually so sad. I'll stop ranting about it now, but it's fucking crazy. That's about it. So yeah. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of the restaurant Panera Bread. Now, I hope none of you raised your hand, because if you did, you'd be an absolute buffoon, you straight up imbecile. I can't see if you do that. But I'm assuming a lot of you have heard of Panera Bread before. It's very popular. But did you know that it's now responsible for at least 2 deaths because of its menu item, charged lemonade? This is a fascinating, concerning, and pretty sad story that I just had to talk about, because with 2 deaths under its belt, the charged lemonade is almost as dangerous as just eating Tide Pods. Now, while 2 deaths doesn't seem like a lot, statistically speaking, that's from one menu item on just innocent people whose only crime was looking for a tasty beverage. Like, this is very alarming stuff. So yeah, it may not be like piling up corpses to the sky or anything, but 2 people dying from just drinking lemonade from the menu is a problem. Now, when I first saw the headlines, I assumed it was like contaminated product or something, like something must have gone wrong with the lemonade. I thought it'd be like a, turns out in their charged lemonade, the secret ingredient was pink sauce, so people were dying of botulism and cringe or something. But it's actually not that. Their charged lemonade is a caffeinated drink that was improperly advertised, so people that shouldn't be consuming caffeine, or like huge amounts of caffeine, were consuming the charged lemonade, and unfortunately 2 people did die from it. And it is a lot of caffeine in the charged lemonade. It's not like just a couple tiddlywinks worth of caffeine, it's a lot. Now, the most recent death is that of a 46-year-old man from Florida whose family has now filed a wrongful death and negligence lawsuit against Panera. Now, his name is David Brown. He had high blood pressure and didn't consume energy drinks, but in the lawsuit, he said he believed the charged lemonade was safe since it was not advertised as an energy drink. It was offered in the same place as the restaurant chain's non-caffeinated or less caffeinated drinks, which is obviously a huge problem because there are people with underlying conditions that should not be consuming a ton of caffeine. This is the perfect example of that. That's why you need to properly label these beverages, because they can be legitimately dangerous to people that aren't aware of what's in them. According to the lawsuit, on October 9th, Brown had the drink 3 times during a visit to Panera Bread. Apparently this was part of like their endless sipping offer. I don't know what it's called at Panera, fucking Super Sippers Deluxe something, the sip package, where you can get like refills, multiple refills. So I'm assuming he got this refilled 3 times in Florida, and on his walk home he suffered cardiac arrest and died a short time later. He had ordered a Panera charged lemonade at least 7 times over the course of 2 weeks from September to October. An extremely sad situation that was easily avoidable. David Brown knew about his underlying condition and did everything he could to avoid anything that would cause him problems, but he simply didn't know that the Panera charged lemonade was a highly caffeinated drink. And unfortunately, it led to his death. Now, I do think this information is worth sharing here. Brown had a chromosomal deficiency disorder, developmental delays, some blurred vision, and a mild intellectual disability. He had worked at Publix for 17 years and would regularly go to Panera after work for meals as many as 3 times a week because, according to the lawsuit, he said the chain advertised as being a healthy alternative to other restaurants. This is something I see a lot of people say. This is a sentiment shared by many that they perceive Panera as being a healthy restaurant. And unfortunately, I too once believed this, but that's just not true. Panera is not healthier than most other chains. It's just genuinely not. If you actually look at the nutrition facts of what they serve, it's just as unhealthy as pretty much anything else you'd find elsewhere. You could probably find a Wendy's meal that might have more nutrition than some of the macros that Panera's offering. It is not necessarily a healthy place. It has some healthy options, sure, but so does fucking McDonald's too. Panera is not a healthy restaurant, especially not its soups. Its soups, some of them still have trans fat. I thought that shit got outlawed by the Geneva Convention, but no, like their broccoli cheddar soup does still have fucking trans fat in it. So it's not a great place to be eating if you're looking to be eating healthy, and it's certainly not a safe place to be drinking, I guess, with the charged lemonade out here like a fucking assassin taking people down. So I did want to just briefly mention that. Now let's talk about the other death that is being blamed on Panera's charged lemonade. A 21-year-old university student named Sarah Katz died of cardiac arrest after drinking the beverage in 2022. She was diagnosed with a congenital long QT syndrome type 1 when she was 5 years old, so she had an abnormal heart rhythm, which could be life-threatening. And according to the lawsuit, the charged lemonade was not advertised as an energy drink at the time that Katz ordered it. So Katz's family claimed that she didn't know that the drink had high levels of caffeine because it was inadequately labeled, and alleged her death is a direct result of drinking it. Which I think is a very fair assessment. I imagine that a highly caffeinated beverage like the charged lemonade would be extremely bad for someone with her condition. So I do think that is a huge component of what led to her death. And according to this lawsuit as well, Panera just wasn't advertising the charged lemonade as being like a super caffeinated drink when they should. According to what I can find, the caffeine levels on the small are about 260, whereas if you get the large, it's 390 milligrams of caffeine, which is a fucking ton. And once again, the claim is being made that it was offered side by side with all of the store's non-caffeinated or less caffeinated drinks. It was not advertised as an energy drink, nor were there any warnings to consumers, which is completely unacceptable, because again, there are just people that can't drink that. But they wouldn't know that they can't drink it if it's not properly labeled as being a highly caffeinated drink, thus led to these situations, allegedly. It's just so easily avoidable if they had just said, hey look, charged lemonade, packed out the fucking wazoo with caffeine. Have your entire week's worth of caffeine allowance in a single sip. A goddamn chug jug of rat poison would do less damage to your body than the Panera charged lemonade. And especially with like the refills, what a diabolical combination. Now, Panera has responded with the most expected response. Panera expresses our deep sympathy for Mr. Brown's family. Based on our investigation, we believe his unfortunate passing was not caused by one of the company's products. We view this lawsuit, which was filed by the same law firm as a previous claim, to be equally without merit. Panera stands firmly by the safety of our products. It's not so much the safety of the lemonade, because most people can have one or two lemonades, though if you go to like 3, 4, even 5 charged lemonades, God rest your soul, it's gonna look like a crime scene. Your fucking heart will explode with this amount of caffeine. If you have like 5 charged lemonades from Panera, you better start writing down like your last wishes, because you're not making it out alive. So it's not so much like the product is unsafe to consume, it's that it wasn't properly labeled or properly conveyed to consumers how much caffeine was in there, so people that are sensitive to caffeine or have underlying conditions were drinking it, and it potentially led to these 2 deaths. Now, in the case of Sarah Katz, her friend said that she was very aware of her health and was very vigilant to avoid caffeine. She never drank coffee, so this indicates that she would be very much in tune with avoiding the charged lemonade had she known that there was so much caffeine in it. So Panera told ABC that there is still an ongoing investigation, but they did say we were saddened to learn last week about the tragic passing of Sarah Katz. While our investigation is ongoing, out of an abundance of caution, we have enhanced our existing caffeine disclosure for these beverages at our bakery cafes, on our website, and on the Panera app. Which is the whole point. You didn't do enough to make sure consumers were educated on how much caffeine was in there, or even if it was a highly caffeinated drink in the first place, if it was surrounded by other non-caffeinated or less caffeinated drinks. Like, you can't just fucking sneak it in there in between, like, the orange juice and the water. People are going to make the assumption, like, oh, this is probably just some kind of wacky lemonade. Most people wouldn't draw the conclusion, like, oh, this is probably a 400 fucking milligram bomb of caffeine. So it's just a matter of you needed to more effectively communicate to consumers that this is extremely caffeinated because it's dangerous not to. So yeah, buyers beware out there for any Panera enthusiasts. Maybe avoid the charged lemonade just in case Just wanted to go over this a little bit. Pretty sad situation all around, though. That's about it. So, yeah. I just saw a crazy story I have to talk about. A woman working at Wells Fargo died at her desk, and her body wasn't discovered for 4 days, despite co-workers being in the building as well as 24/7 security. It's not like she went to some condemned building all alone like Squidward when he goes to that void place. Like, she was in an occupied space, working, surrounded by other people, and nobody noticed that she had passed away. Until her body started to rot and decay, and they started to smell it, and then someone became alerted and realized, gee willikers, we have a corpse here. That is baffling to me. Like, this is the perfect illustration for how little these companies care about their workers. Like, they are not your friends. They do not give a fuck about you.
A Tempe Wells Fargo employee died at her desk. And 12 News is now confirming that it may have taken as many as 4 days for anyone in the office to notice.
That's so sad. Now, according to workers, she was in an underpopulated area of the office because a lot of workers for Wells Fargo work remote, but there still were co-workers there as well as 24/7 security, and I imagine there were other higher level like Wells Fargo executives that have to be in the building at least once or twice over the course of 4 days, you would think, to like manage it, and nobody found her. Because I imagine they treat employees just like faceless cogs in the machine and not human beings.
A Wells Fargo employee went to work the morning of Friday, August 16th and never went home. Tempe police tell 12 News 60-year-old Denise Prudhomme scanned into work at 7 o'clock in the morning. 4 days later, police responded to the office building near Washington Street and Priest Drive for reports of a subject down. Prudhomme was declared dead. The Tempe Police Criminal Investigation Bureau is investigating, but do not suspect foul play.
I saw a comment that really put things into an interesting perspective. It said, be 5 minutes late to work, get reprimanded and maybe fired. Die in your cubicle and nobody notices. It's super upsetting. These employees just numbers on a page for executives to try and exploit, figuring out how to get the most juice for the squeeze for as little amount of money as possible to get the most amount of return on it. It's all about profit. And it doesn't matter if an employee dies at their desk, you don't even notice. And the people working around you also won't notice because they're also part of that machine and too wrapped up in their own personal experience with it.
A Wells Fargo employee exclusively spoke with 12 News, but asked not to be recorded or identified out of fear for their job. They say a colleague found Prudhomme dead at her desk in a cubicle while walking around the building on Tuesday, August 20th. Prudhomme's cubicle was reportedly on the 3rd floor and away from the main aisle. This employee says several people had smelled a foul odor, but passed it off as faulty plumbing.
It's so weird to me how if something's off the main aisle, it basically just falls to the fucking back rooms at Wells Fargo, I guess. So if someone's not at like one of the main front and center cubicles, they basically cease to exist, I guess. So for 4 days, people walking down this main aisle never saw her cubicle and noticed the body. It reminds me of in Dexter's Laboratory, the back of the bus where that kid was like a gum monster because he was like, you know, glued down to the seat from chewing gum and no one goes to the back of the bus. Like, that's kind of what I picture for this Wells Fargo office now. Oh, well, she wasn't in the main aisle, so what were we supposed to do? Go over there and check? We don't do that. We don't go over there. That's a forsaken realm. That's like a fucking different dimension over in that ballpark.
They say while most Wells Fargo employees at this Tempe location work remote, the building has 24/7 security, and someone should have found Prudhomme sooner. The incident left several employees feeling scared and uneasy. This employee wants to see new safety protocols in place, telling me, quote, it's negligence in some part.
So a good chunk of the employees at that Wells Fargo office do work remote, but not all of them. There were other colleagues there, and of course 24/7 security as well as like custodial staff and everything, so it was not like an empty building or anything. I am extremely curious to see what protocol changes Wells Fargo might make here. I'm expecting some like really cringy dogshit solution from some out-of-touch Silicon Valley type that just tries ridiculous garbage. Like they might integrate like a jingle. If you're feeling kind of dizzy, if your stomach's feeling shitty, go somewhere else. If your heart starts to pound and you might fall down, go somewhere else. Die off the premises, please. we're begging you. It's bad for our PR, so just die somewhere else, please, instead of in our cubicles. They're not all of a sudden going to start treating their employees like human beings. That's not going to happen. No shot. These fucking elite level zombies that control all this shit, that's never going to happen. There's a higher likelihood that aliens will come down right now and suck my flaccid cock. But I do think they'll do some kind of like desperate attempt at trying to spin this in a positive way. Like, this was a huge wake-up call for us here. We were all shocked and disgusted by what happened, and we want to make a big change. And that's why we're the first office to require hourly health check-ins, where we send around a healthcare professional to check in on each cubicle to ensure that the employee is still breathing. And they'll just have like some dude walk around to each cubicle going, "Hey, Janet, just making sure, are you still alive? Okay, let me check your pulse real quick." All right, great news. Hey, keep up the good work. You're a valuable team member here. We're a family. Don't forget, we're more than a team, we're a fucking family. Fist bump. All right, I'm gonna go check on the next one.
A different worker also spoke with 12 News anonymously.
It was just uncomfortable.
Again, calling on the company to do more.
Body was there about 4 days before anybody found it, before anybody walked up to her and just to say hi, make sure she's okay. She was just laying on her desk.
Just a really sad thought that this woman died completely alone. No one in the office going to say hi or anything like that. I don't know about, like, back home, you know, if there was anyone there wondering where she was. You know, it'd been 4 days since she returned home and no one, like, called to check in and see what was going on or where she might be. It's just really upsetting.
A Wells Fargo spokesperson previously sent 12 News a statement saying, in part, "We are deeply saddened by the tragic loss of our colleague at our Tempe office," adding counselors through our employee assistance consulting service are available to support employees. An employee tells me their direct management offered those services, addressed the incident, and told workers the building was thoroughly cleaned.
We here at Wells Fargo are deeply saddened by the tragic loss of what's her name. It's shaken us to our very core, and we're looking to do more to ensure this doesn't happen again. In the meantime, though, we'll see you at work tomorrow. And if you drop dead, we probably won't notice, so do your best not to do that. We'd hate to go back to back on this. Anyway, though, yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. It just made me sad. Like, it's just a really awful thing to see, and it serves as a rough reminder that corporations really do not care about you. They are not your friends, they are certainly not your family, and they are absolutely not looking out for your best interests. They barely know you exist. Unless, of course, you're not performing up to the standards that they want you to, then they notice immediately and you will be fucking canned on the spot. But if you actually just die in their office, they have no clue. And that's terrible. It's just bad. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's really about it. So yeah.